Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Trade Talks Live. Thanks for tuning in this wonderful thirsty Thursday. I hope you're having a great day so far. You know, we're on that downhill slope and it's looking pretty good. If this is your first time here, glad that you showed up, man. Here's where we hang out. We talk trades. We talk a bunch of different aspects of trades, from hands-on to business sides to safety. We cover a little bit of everything here. But we would like to go ahead and thank our sponsor, Leak Pro, for sponsoring today's episode of the Trade Talks. They manufacture the most precise leak detection system for professional plumbers. I always suggest checking out the complete kit at www.leak-pro.com. But also, if you're not familiar with how to do leak detection, give me a call. Let's talk about it. I do a 2-day in-person training here just outside of Dallas, Texas, and I'll run you through every aspect of it. I've got a slab out here to train you on. So give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO. I'd be happy to discuss the equipment or the training with you. Everybody, as you can tell, Roger is not here. Once again, you just get me hanging out and talking trades. He's flying back in from Skills USA, where he tuned in yesterday from. So, you know, he'll be landing sometime here in a bit and cruising on in. So I think it'll be a little after the live. So we probably won't see him at all today, but he will be here in the studio tomorrow with us. Let's go ahead and kick off some national news here. Massive infrastructure bill targets the rural broadband and road repairs nationwide, guys. And Senate's approved a $65 billion infrastructure package focusing on expanding broadband and rural areas and repairing aging infrastructure. And guys, a lot of the major focus here, the immediate focus, Texas, Missouri, and Iowa. These are states with extensive rural regions, and this is about getting internet out to everybody. And that's what I love. Just because you're out in the country doesn't mean you don't need just as good internet as somebody in the city. So I love to see this expansion going on, especially the bridges and things like that. A lot of them are getting pretty run down in some real rural areas. So it's good to see that we're going through and trying to upgrade these things for everybody throughout the country. But mainly these major states where it has a high population out in those rural communities. Implications for the trades: electrical contractors installing broadband, heavy equipment operators, road maintenance, construction crews. Guys, it's going to be cleanup. It's going to be prep work, a bunch of different things, especially running all the lines. That's going to be a lot of work going on, setting poles, things like that. So bunch of work coming up. Get out there, see if it's in your area. Some of the expected outcomes include improved connectivity for more people. And the big push here lately, it's not just getting the fiber optics out there, it's actually getting them to homes. So not just, you know, on the roads and out there available, actually getting it to some people. Job creation and enhanced safety on the rural roadways. This is big. Like I say, I like the bridge thing because, like, when my mom first moved out to the country, it was just a couple beams and a grate, and that's what you drove across all the time. And the first time, I'm just kind of like, whoa, we're going to drive across this? Okay. Now it's a lot safer. They've redone the road out there, and it's a new bridge. So it's a good thing that all these things are going on. Some potential opportunities for small to medium trade businesses to bid on these federally funded projects. And if you are a small company, team up with a little bit bigger one. Try to sub out some of these smaller bridges, because there's a lot of different bridge sizes, especially when it comes to the rural areas. You hit the country, there's some we call 2-mile bridge, super long bridge. Some are only like 20, 30 feet to get across the creeks and things in the spaces around here in Texas that I'm familiar with. But other states, same thing. There's wide streams, thin streams. You're going to have different size bridges across the country. Mr. Derek Sutton, good morning, sir. Hope you are doing lovely this Thursday. I'm here. Dad's flying back from Atlanta this morning. So he'll be landing just a bit after the show. Let's go ahead and move on here to bottom line. And the topic today is material price volatility. This is something I am super familiar with. I remember whenever I first started estimating, hearing the horror stories about, oh man, one time you couldn't even get a bid that was good for 10 minutes. It was like, no, look, by the time that you're reading this quote for price, the price is probably not any good anymore because it's already, prices have changed on the materials themselves because the fluctuation was so much and so quick for prices. And it's funny because one of my bosses at one time, they're like, look, we're giving them 24 hours. That's it. So the electrical estimators, when they would write their proposal, they're like, look, for the next 23 hours and 59 minutes, they're like, look, I don't even want them to think that they have a full 24 hours. It's technically done a minute before that, right? And I'm like, hey, you know, that's a good way to do it. But you really want to protect your margins here. And then I actually had to live it and go through it where we dealt with those. Look, our price is only good for X amount of time. But you can actually talk to the people you're bidding to, your customers, the GCs, whatever it is, and explain what's going on. Do you want me to carry a material escalation? Do you want to allocate an amount? Do you want to have me do something like that? Because a lot of the companies that I dealt with, I'm like, look, here's what's going on. I've been talking to my vendors. They've kind of let me know that here's what I should kind of expect. Here's where they think it's going to settle. So I think if we include a 10% allowance, and I loved calling it an allowance because it's like, look, this is money. It may not ever get used. If the material prices come back down and everything's great, we will never touch it. It's an allowance. You'll get it back. If it's needed, it is there for us to start using. But there's also a material escalation clause because it's an allowance. This is all that we did for what's going on. We're not saying it's going to cover everything no matter what. This is an allowance that we agreed on, and check with the customer, see what they want you to carry. That's what really matters. And if you're clear and upfront about it, when material prices are doing this, most people understand what's going on. And it can get to be a pretty crazy market out there sometimes. But yeah, like you can use Buildertrend and Procore software for accurate real-time cost tracking. Something we would do is a lot of the takeoff system that we had, I could run multipliers through it for different parts and pieces of the jobs. So I'd just kind of call my vendor, hey, what's my multiplier right now? Has it changed a lot? Things like that. But the real cost, whenever it's actually tied into your vendors, things like that, that can be huge. Houston contractor case study. They successfully locked lumber prices in, avoiding a $15,000 loss. And I did this on a job. We were doing a lot of stainless tubing. Stainless was going crazy pricing. Well, I had a vendor that called and he ordered a buttload of pipe. He's like, look, you need tubing? I got tubing in the warehouse. This is what I paid. This is what I'm charging. Bro, yes. That saved me. That got me jobs because nobody else could get that pricing that didn't deal with my vendor. And he was kind of a new vendor, new to the area, but they did quality work. They provided well. When they built that warehouse, he was telling me, look, we're going to be available. I know you've got these big projects coming. We're going to be there to support you. And he was, and it helped us get some jobs and saved us a lot of money just where we were. But the importance of maintaining strong supplier relationships and negotiating those price locks. And that's the key, is I was locked in at that super cheap stainless tubing pricing. And this is electropolished tubing. It's super fancy, super expensive, cost more than it needs to, but it's for specialty gases, things like that. and you've got to have that in a lot of manufacturing plants. But I worked in some pretty cool ones. Some practical tips for communicating the price adjustments transparently to the clients. And that's it. Just be upfront with them. Look, this is locked in for what I had materials priced at today. It's only good for X amount of days or hours, whatever the case is, depending on the market. But man, build that good communication between you and your vendors, your suppliers, because you need to know everything that's coming down the pipeline, and they know ahead of time before the prices increase. So if you already know you got this job, or you're really close and you can call and try to find out if y'all actually have the job, because look, you create that FOMO. Look, man, to hold that price, you know, they're saying this stuff's going to go up in a week, in 2 weeks. So we'd really like to know if we got that job. That way we can try to lock in some of this pricing. And a lot of times they'll let you know early if you're in a good spot to get that job or not, depending on, especially whenever it actually affects the bottom line. And that's going to change a lot for them. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move on in here to safety. Okay. A new OSHA directive, stricter guidelines for scaffold safety. Okay. And guys, scaffolds, it's a big deal. You've got to have a competent person there. It's got to be inspected every single day. Temporary scaffolds still need to be done properly and maintained, because I know there's a lot of you out there that you just throw a scaffold up in a room for a day, it's tore down by the end of the day, and you're on to the next space, things like that. Go through and do everything that you're actually supposed to do. A detailed overview of the OSHA's updated requirements. Daily scaffold inspections, just like I was already saying, has to be inspected, has to have a green tag for that day before anybody can get on it. And then also mandatory anchor checks. I love that. That's a good one, because all the spots that scaffold is actually anchored off, tied off, things like that, they need to be inspected every so often. And you actually have to put your eyes on it, try to pull the anchors out. You know, like I love that whenever we talk about inspectors coming through and banging on all your pipe to see if you actually soldered everything. It's like, wait, what are you doing? You're trying to break it. Well, if it does, I'd rather it break now than 20 years down the road when people are actually in here trying to do their normal day-to-day. Check the anchors. Make sure everything's still tied and secure. Nothing's been tampered with. Some recent statistics indicate scaffold-related falls accounted for 15% of construction injuries last year. And we know, falls is one of the biggest hazards on the job, one of the biggest injuries that happen. And just from scaffolds, 15% for all construction injuries. So that's going to be even a higher percent of just the falls themselves. Be smart on a scaffold. If you're not a competent person, don't think, oh yeah, I can just throw a green tag on it and hop on it and do what I want. Oh, I kind of looked at it, it's good. Get trained, know what you're doing. If you are the competent person, make sure that it's right. You can use QR coded checklist for improved inspection tracking and compliance. There's software's coming out for everything nowadays that everybody can be tied to on the cloud so that everybody can see that inspection. Back when I was in, it was always red tags and green tags that they would go through and put on every single day, every morning. The competent person had to go out and do that before anybody could go up on the roof. That's where I dealt with a lot of scaffolds, was getting up to the roof. Real world incident here, scaffold collapse in Philadelphia, leading to regulatory changes. And that's it. Like, it happens. I can remember seeing the scaffold go down Parkland Hospital. It's a huge scaffold. Nobody was on it. Nobody got hurt, anything like that. But the wind gusts were so much, the anchor points gave way. It wasn't tied down enough. Now, they were still kind of in the middle of doing things, but the scaffold went down. Now, you want to talk about a bunch of trash at that point, because when it goes down, you can't just reuse all that stuff. A lot of it gets damaged in that whenever it comes crashing down. So, good thing to do, guys. Stay on top of it. Do your daily checks. Have that competent person. Make sure everything's done right. Make sure everybody that gets on there is doing the right things on it. Watch out for your tie-off points, things like that. And like we were talking about last week, don't string all your electric cords through the scaffold. Actually tie them off appropriate. Use some caution tape, danger tape, something like that to be able to tie those off. And don't create a tripping hazard with them either right there next to the scaffolds. When you're up there working all day and you come down, you're not thinking about, oh, that cord that somebody draped over there this morning, for sure. So 360-degree awareness all the time, guys. Stay safe. Let's move on in here to new construction. Growth in modular construction accelerates across the Midwest. Now, this is something we've been talking about a lot here recently is pre-builds. Buildings, whole restaurants, coffee shops, things like that that are getting built in Vegas at Ahern and shipped out all over the country. It's modular build. It's ready to go. Boom. But modular projects can cut a typical build by up to 25%. And it's more than just restaurants now. You can have all these parts and pieces that come out that you put together to create multifamily homes, things like that. Cleveland multifamily development example, saved developers $2 million and completed 6 months early. 2 million in 6 months early. Man, the 6 months early is huge because what's the major thing that's always happening? All the project timelines are getting tighter and tighter, shorter and shorter because we're getting better at what we do. But 6 months early by going modular construction, that's amazing. Parkland Hospital's where we started building bathrooms down the street a couple blocks away. They'd bring them in and fly them with a crane, and it was 100% finished. It is so awesome. But a lot of the advantages of doing that, down there, 2 blocks down, whenever we'd get a rain out on the job, guess what? Those guys stayed in there and worked in their nice, controlled environment, same temperature every day, same setup, same spot, same bathrooms, rolling in over and over. And that's reduces the weather delays because you have this controlled space to actually go in and continue working every day. Best part is predictable cost. Whenever you have that set environment like that, you've got full control of a lot of things. It removes the risk, like we were talking weather. Well, what if the shop gets shut down for something, an accident happens, something. Now, yes, this could happen in that controlled environment. It's less likely to, though, because it's a controlled environment. But you never know what's going to happen on a job, what kind of delays are going to be created. There were times that we'd have to shut the job down because a special crane had to come out that was so big, picking up sky bridges and stuff and flying them in. They shut the job down. Nobody got to work. If you were building a few blocks away, though, guess what? You could be down there working and they wouldn't be able to stop that. So it keeps the jobs moving. Modular construction is definitely something to start looking into and thinking about if you're not doing it yet. Plumbing, electrical, carpentry all benefit from standardized modules, building the same thing over and over. And guess what? Whenever you're building the same thing over and over, you get faster and faster. Shift that crew occasionally, though, because lack of thought, because it is so much repetition, isn't always a good thing. So kind of mix that up a little bit. But some of the long-term trends and forecast in modular construction, like that's it, guys. It's where we're headed more and more. We talk about prefab more. It comes up more. I see it more in discussions everywhere. I know y'all do a lot of prefab, but we started prefabbing everything at our company. Hangers, rods, everything. Like That's when it started blowing my mind, whenever I started seeing hangers come out that already had rods pre-cut and stuff. And I'm like, wait, I don't even have to cut rods anymore. Y'all are figuring that out in CAD, knowing exactly what I need, allowing for all the insulation, all the stuff that I normally have to deal with. I don't have to do that anymore. That's pretty cool. And there was always a little slop because, you know, those floors kind of get wavy sometimes whenever you're out there on some big buildings. Moving on here into mindset growth. Tackling imposter syndrome on the job site. Okay. And guys, imposter syndrome, having all these certifications, all this knowledge and everything, but you feel like you really don't have all that. You don't know that knowledge. You feel like you're fake. Yeah, I've got all these recognition things. Yeah, but that's just not me. That's not who I am. You feel like you are the imposter. When they say that you're the expert, and you just, yeah, you've got something on the wall that says that you've done it all. You know it, but you kind of notice this. A journeyman electrician improving team productivity through mentoring and personal growth. And that's something that does help a lot, is whenever you're trying to fight some of these things, teaching others, hearing their feedback, things like that. You've got to support each other, you know, because there's times that we get that burnout setting in the trades, and you're wore out, you're tired of it. And then you feel like, man, am I just a fake here? Keep driving, keep going, keep learning, you know, and that's one of the key things here that we talk about a lot, is never stop learning. If you don't stop learning, you don't have time to feel like the imposter necessarily, because you're learning that new thing. You're learning that next step, that next thing that's coming out, that newest, latest, greatest. So stay plugged in and keep going, and pass it on to others. Don't pass on the negativity necessarily. A lot of them tend to pass that down. I was talking to the kid about that the other night. But drive for greatness. And that's one thing that I did learn from my old man, is perfection. He is a perfectionist. He loves to do everything to the best he can possibly do. All the letters you can see, it's all faced the same way. You can actually read it if you stand in one spot. All these weird little things, but it pays off in the long run, because any inspector that walks in and sees that, they know you knew exactly what you were doing. There's no doubt, because they can see how professional you did it. There's no imposter there. Take a step back sometimes and look at your work, you know, and think of it through that aspect. Practical daily journaling exercises to boost individual confidence. That's it. Put some of your biggest wins, your biggest losses, things like that. Keep track of that. Go back and read through that journal and see how it was. We always did a daily. And one of the things that wasn't required, but I started to add, was, what's the biggest mess up today? What are we going to try to avoid in the future? And doing that just helped us think ahead and try to learn from the mistakes that we've done before, so that we are constantly striving for greatness. Some strategies for team leaders to foster open conversations about mental health on the job site. And that's it, guys. Like, there's times being a construction worker sucks, but it's great. You know, we always feel good. We take pride in what we do. We love the things that we get to do. But you get burnout, you get wore down, things like that. Like, it's summertime right now. You know, I was out 4 hours yesterday, I think, doing stuff out in the yard, getting ready for training coming up. But it's just part of it. Get out there, get it in your mind that you're going to get it done. You're going to keep moving forward. You're going to keep heading out. But try to talk each other up, you know, and that's one of the biggest things, is crew morale. And one thing that I got from a lot of my guys, you know, they're like, look, you know your stuff. How do you know this so well? And it's like, look, I asked a lot of questions when I was an apprentice. Ask it, learn it, retain it. That's the key, and that will help you avoid imposter syndrome because you stay on top of your stuff. Now, I track a little different than most, and I get that, but just keep striving forward, talking to others about it. And if you're starting to get broke down, wore out, discuss that with somebody, okay, on the job. It is very important nowadays because you don't just want to drag up all the time. That gets old, and we get bored of that. So, not too bad. We would like to thank Leak Pro for sponsoring today's episode of the Trade Talks. And at Leak Pro, we build the most precise leak detection system for professional plumbers. I always suggest checking out the complete kit. It comes with both devices I build. I build a probe, which is a T-handle style solid block of aluminum up top. It's got a durable stainless steel rod that comes down from it, and that's strong for probing in and out of the ground. We like that for that meter to the home service, irrigation lines, anything like that. That stainless rod's real durable, so if you run into rock or anything like that, it's not just going to bend the rod on you. So we prefer that for your outdoor stuff. But you're going to want that sidekick if your leak's under a driveway, sidewalk, listening through a slab in the house, or even just indoor homes. I love the sidekick because it's got an aluminum rod, and that aluminum rod enhances the sound even more. It's a whole lot easier. I tell people it screams in comparison to the probe. And you go through, you listen to those angle stops, but that aluminum rod, it kind of eliminates the layer of concrete when you're listening through a slab. So check out the complete kit at www.leak-pro.com. If you're not familiar with leak detection and you are a plumber out there and you want to add it to your world, give me a call. I do a 2-day in-person training here just outside of Dallas, Texas. I've got a slab out there with 11 leaks underneath it. We'll go through. I'll teach you how to locate the lines, pinpoint locate the leaks under the slab. I also have one outside of the slab so that you know what that sounds like too. But then also I've got a couple sewer systems. I've got a cast iron and a PVC system. And we go through there and teach you how to go to the double clean out outside of a home and determine exactly where a sewer system's leaking. That way you don't have to be like, oh, I got to replace the whole system. Do you? Or can we test it and it's actually just one branch line coming off that main that needs to be replaced? We teach you how to go through and find that out. But also, we'll take a look at your marketing, your website, see how it's doing to promote these services in your local area. And we'll try to help guide you to do that the right way. So if you want to talk about the training, the equipment, anything I've talked about, give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO, and I'd be happy to discuss the equipment or the training with you and how we can add this to your list of services. All right, let's move on in here to All Trades. Happy Thursday, Lori. Yes, Thirsty Thursday. Time for some coffee again. But topic for All Trades today, effective cross-trade scheduling for commercial buildings. Now, something I always talk about, plan your work and work your plan. And it's not just you and what you're doing. You've got to think about every crew on the job, every trade, things like that, because we're all trying to build the same building. So the importance of pre-construction meetings and the communication to prevent costly rework. That's the key here. If you know who's working where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, how long they're going to be there, you can have a good idea when you can fit in, when the next person does, things like that. And being a piping guy, I had to deal with this a lot because I was always overhead with big, heavy pipe. And I'd have guys trying to come in and do a lot of different things, but we would know when each other were going to be in different spaces so that we weren't working right on top of each other. We weren't running our pipes where somebody else was supposed to be. And that's the thing is, you know, we talk about BIM and CAD a lot, building information modeling, AutoCAD, creating the drawings. Now it's all 3D pretty much. You can do a lot of visual walkthroughs, things like that. I could do a walkthrough a job here if somebody shot us the right links. It's really cool at how advanced technology is getting now. to be able to prevent any rework on a job if you put the right time in on the front end. But like some real world use of FieldWire software for real-time coordination among trade teams. And that's a big deal. Like it's just like any other cloud upload. Everybody's connected to the same drawing set. And whenever you're connected to the same drawing set, if something changes, everybody gets to see that live right when it actually happens. Embrace some of the technology that's out there now. All the youngsters coming up, they're going to pretty much, it's going to be the only thing they know, which is really cool. And I'm just curious to see what they get to see whenever they hit to be 20, 30 years in the trade. It's going to be pretty interesting to see where all this heads. But there was a Dallas office project reducing rework cost by 18% through effective scheduling and communication. And that's it. Like I've talked about before, I worked in a lot of mechanical rooms. Every MEP trade has to be in the mechanical room at some point or another, running their part and piece. I had duct guys. I ran steam. I ran chill water. I ran heating water. Ran a little bit of everything. I would have the plumbers in there because most of the time the water actually comes into the building in the mechanical rooms. There's a lot of trades that try to fit into this little bitty space. So scheduling is the key to keep everybody productive, safe, and not working on top of each other or endangering each other. Because like I said, I was typically hanging big pipe. Can't have a lot of people in the space whenever you're hanging 24-inch pipe. You don't want anybody walking under that while you're trying to get work done. Some of the practical tips for managing conflicts and enhancing cross-trade collaboration on projects. Like, the big thing is whenever you do schedule it, if you need extra time, try to be ahead on that. Not wait till the last day that you're supposed to be in the room. Be like, oh, no, I still need it for another week, everybody. Sorry. That's too late. You need to stay 2 or 3 days ahead, kind of knowing where you're going to be. Something that we teach a lot. Try to be 2 weeks ahead. And you don't start out 2 weeks ahead. First, it's just a day, a couple days ahead, things like that. And I'm talking big projects. That's mainly what I worked on a lot. So that's why I'm talking days ahead here. But even residential homes, you know who's going to be where, when. As a plumber, we were always talking with the electricals because we didn't really want to be on the same site at the same time if we didn't have to be. If we could avoid each other, great. Because we all had to be in kind of the same areas. So definitely take a look at doing that. And then, implementing software solutions on the job sites. Like I was saying, there's lots of softwares now that everybody's connected to the same drawing set. Lock your projects in. Have that open line of communication. Embrace the technologies that we've got today so that everybody can communicate right then, not later. So I love it at how quick we can get the information now. So any changes come out, guess what? Boom, everybody gets pinged. Hey, there was a slight change on this drawing. You know if you're on that drawing or not. So it's pretty cool at the things that they've got nowadays. Moving on in here to laws and license. I actually like this. New York mandates continuing education for all trade license renewals. And guys, if you're somebody that didn't have to do any continuing ed before, that's fine. Don't get mad about it. One of my favorite things about having continuing education, during that, they should teach you the latest and the greatest that's come out in your trade. Period. Anything that's changed, it's going to keep you current and up to date. Okay? That's what this is about. So up in New York, 8 hours of continuing education will be required every year starting January 2026. Now, this is something I had to deal with personally in the union. one of the requirements for you to be able to get your raise is you had to go take an extra 8 hours. I'm pretty sure it was 8 hours actually of training as a journeyman, because we didn't go to school anymore necessarily as a journeyman unless you opted in for some of the extra classes and trainings. So this was a way to get more guys to actually do that and commit to more learning, because they're learning some different things. Now, I like the continuing education style because it's just your trade and everything latest and greatest there. We were going to learn different types of things, tube and bending, different techniques, different skills to be used and applied on different job sites. Is kind of how it worked here. But the anticipated impact on trade professionals, it's going to increase training opportunities here. It's going to improve the workforce competency. If you are all learning the same thing every year in that 8 hours, everything that's current and updated and changed in your area also, not just your trade, but your state, your space, that's going to keep everybody knowing the same things, the current things. Oh, we changed a height. Guess what? Everybody knows that. We know that. It's guaranteed. Why? Because they all had to go to continuing education. Now, did you guarantee that they paid attention to that part? Not necessarily, and I understand that. But for them to actually go through and do that 8 hours, there's questions they got to answer to be able to get through it. So a lot of providers are adjusting curriculums to meet the new state mandates. And Dad used to teach continuing education. The people that are certified, don't be getting imposter syndrome. Go out there and teach some continuing education. Don't be scared of that. It's okay. I've got 20 years in pipe fitting. If there was continuing education for it, I'd be happy to go teach that. Talk to the fitters about things, even though not a lot changes there. But they're still going to have something, which is good. Like, you're going to learn new smart devices, things like that is something I would expect to see there. An example of an effective continuing education course structure for HVAC techs. Like, that's it for, so like, okay, there we go. So for instance, HVAC techs, now you've got all these smart thermometers, smart devices. You've got digital, remote read, all this stuff. You've got all these softwares and AIs that'll go through and help you. You can teach thermal imaging. You can teach a lot of new things to help train everybody. You know, Dad's always saying you can learn your way up out of anything. Guess what? Let's learn up everybody in that trade to make that trade better as a whole. And that's what I kind of like. There is some potential nationwide trends in licensing and education requirements. We've been talking about that a lot because we really do want a national license out there for a lot of trades so that we're not limited by the state lines. We know the work changes a little bit, so there would have to be some things set up and structured to prepare for this, but it's not too far-fetched. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move on in here to business training. We've got streamlining job site inventory management. Okay. Now, this is big. I deal with it still to this day doing League Pro inventory management. I've constantly got to keep an eye on everything. And if you're the superintendent on that job, you know where you're at. You go through, you've made all your list, preparing. How much of it did you order? Where are you at? Do you have a holding pattern set up for your supplier? Things like that. But you can use RFIDs to do tags on tools and equipment, things like that. Things that's getting checked out a lot. You can actually have them scan it nowadays and have a software actually tracking that so you know where everything is. Like I saw a TikTok the other day talking about welding nuke plant versus pipeline. Well, when you work at the nukes, you got to go turn in your brass every day. You got to go through all these steps and processes. Well, if all that's automatically scanned and it's tied into the software, guess what? Everybody knows where every tool is. It's all tracked. Good case study here. Chicago plumbing firm reduced tool loss by 50% in 6 months. In 6 months. That's a lot. Okay. That's a big reduction of tool loss. But the benefits include inventory accuracy. Whenever you're scanning things and it's actually tracked by software, there's no doubt, unless you don't scan, and then that's a whole nother problem. Cost savings. This is going to save a lot because you're going to know who has which tool, where it's at, things like that. You're going to be able to actually track and know exactly who has it, because we don't need too many tools and we don't need everybody hanging on to them either. So you're going to be able to kind of track that too and see how long has somebody had it. Has it been maintained? One of my favorites about tracking it with the scanners and stuff, you can track the maintenance too. And that's what helps you reduce the downtime with these tools, or even trying to find a tool. If you can check that job site's inventory, oh, who's got the torch, this special torch or whatever it is, boom, get on there, look, check it. Oh, he's got it up there. Let me go check, see if he needs it still or not, and borrow that. Step-by-step instruction for setting the systems up, including cost analysis. That's a good one. Definitely check out some softwares. Check out a YouTube video for a guide to cruise through that, to set up those. And it's simple scan stuff, guys. You can do QR codes. You can do all sorts of things nowadays. Lots of softwares and AIs are coming to be able to help you track that and maintain things. Some of the common pitfalls and practical solutions is implementing inventory management. And that's it. Like, we had, I think it was a monthly requirement back whenever I was superintendent. Once a month, we would have to do tool inventories on every job site. I feel like it was the first Monday of the month or something like that. And guys, for the first hour, 2 hours, every man on the job was going through doing tool inventory to account for every single tool that we had to make sure that we still had them all. Did it walk off of the job or not? And you've got to kind of use it that way, because tools don't just walk off. Somebody grabs them and walks off with them. So keep an eye out. Definitely implement some type of inventory management for your tools, your equipment, things like that. Check on it. Know what you've got. Know how many you've got. Even supplies, consumables, man. Consumables. I was a fitter, so one of the things I kept an eye on the most were grinding disc, buffing wheels, and welding rod. Those were the three major consumables. But then as a superintendent, it was like, oh, and welding lens protectors and this and this. The list just grows more and more into the things that you actually have to keep an eye on and maintain inventory of. So stay on top of it. Keep a smooth running job. That's just what works well. Let's see, moving on in here to vehicles. Maximizing fuel efficiency. Okay. I like this. I watch mine pretty well. Try to keep the best mileage I can get. But some of the best practices for trade fleets. Importance of regular fleet maintenance. That's one of the most important. It's not just one car, it's a fleet. And whenever it's a lot of vehicles, you want to maintain them. Well, it's one of the most important things. If you're not out there and you don't maintain your car, do it. It will last a whole lot longer. Also, it'll keep the value high if you maintain it and take care of it properly. Check the tire pressures. Do that consistently. Luckily now, most everything's automated. That's just clicking a couple arrows real quick on your steering wheel and taking a look at where your pressures are. Unless it's an older vehicle, and then you actually have to check it. But guys, this really matters, especially season changes. Make sure you're checking your tire pressures, knowing where it's at. And just top it off whenever you need to. Get it right. One of my favorites is seasons. I always do it at the beginning of summer and winter for sure. That's probably the two times that I always do my personal vehicles. Also, maintaining proper oil levels. I'm I'm a pretty set person, so I stay on top of those. I typically go in like 200-300 miles before it's actually reached. And then I check the oil levels occasionally just to make sure that it's got enough in there. I don't have any leaks and nothing's wrong with it. And whenever it's a fleet of vehicles, you don't know how each driver's doing. So have that set for them to go and check that once a week, once a month, however, bi-weekly. Choose what works best for you and your location and your business. And also improving vehicle aerodynamics. Ooh, that's interesting. Bed covers, things like that. Like, there are some different things you can do to get that better mileage. Get a little further for sure. Real life stat here. Phoenix electrical contractor achieving 10% fuel savings. Okay. He was doing a comparative analysis of a hybrid and electric vehicle versus traditional options for trade specific applications. Guys, we talk about vehicles a lot, how many different options there are depending on which area you're in. If you're doing a lot of distance in a day, a little bit of distance, or if you're in the middle of the city, want that urban electric so that you can provide some power for the tools that you need. There's so many different options. Try to be the most efficient you can with the vehicle that you use and let it take you as far as it possibly can. Recommendations for monitoring fuel uses effectively using fleet management software. So I think I've got like WEX card every time, and you've got to stress this to your drivers. You need them to actually put the mileage in when they go to use their fleet card, because that software feeds the fleet manager all the information, and they can actually kind of track. As the manager, you can track the fuel mileage, things like that for different drivers. And whenever one skews a little different, you can call that driver. Hey, I need you to check some things. Check your tire pressures. Check all this. Get the oil changed. Start running through it. But all this preventative maintenance and being able to track this and follow it is going to help the fleet last longer and go further. And that's the importance of this. Initiating a fleet efficiency program within your business. Like I was saying, that's it. Is major one here is to have them actually track it. My favorites, through the actual fleet system. Sorry about that. I always look at mine. Mine's all digital in the actual truck now. Tells me my exact mileage for the last tank, all the stuff. So a lot of that's there. But if I had a fleet manager, he wouldn't be able to see that whenever I reset it every week, every time I fill up. On the cards themselves, though, if the drivers are actually entering the miles, it's easy to track that. You know how many gallons they put in it. You know what they used. And make sure they're not using the fleet cards to fill up gas cans too. If so, they need a different card. That's how we ended up doing it at the large business I was at, was get a different card for things like that. Let's see here. So we got something new today for Social Media Spotlight. We've got AC Service Tech. And, we talk a lot about being on YouTube. If you're a business, most businesses should be on YouTube. You should have a channel out there promoting the things you do and what you do. So we've got AC Service Tech here, 585,000 subs. And I've been doing it 9 years. This is one of my favorites, okay? The first video, cutting downspout. Starting the cut, making straight cuts. Tool use. Is that probably going to be... crimping and connection. guys, if that doesn't have a whole lot to do with HVAC, just so you know, doesn't have to do a lot with AC. But guys, everybody starts somewhere on YouTube, and that's what I love to see. And even back then, he's got AC Service Tech tagged there to the side, like his little thumbnail style that he had going on for a while. Most popular video. Or hold on, guys. Let me back it up real quick. This channel, yeah, like he wants to talk everything AC. Being able to deal with it as step-by-step guides and instructions as instructional content with clear step-by-step HVAC troubleshooting and maintenance tutorials. And that's what I was kind of looking at this morning when I was checking this thing out. He's sitting at 110 million views. Cruising along, has a couple books there that he's promoting, things like that, to educate you on HVAC. Love this. Major video, full installation of mini split. And I actually think I was watching this video a while back, looking for a mini split to do out in the Leak Pro shop. It's an 1.5-hour video, so I think that's why I didn't finish it. And there's that. But thumbnails have kind of changed. You still see some of the older ones, some of the different ones from different time periods. Nowadays, we remove the side and we're just doing different things. Refrigerant recovery procedures, different tips, ways to do it, coil repairs, breaks down a lot of things. I saw a bunch of mini split stuff, and then he's actually teaching you how to use some of the tools and stuff. Summer failures video with over 1 million views, analysis of community engagement strategies driving profile growth and industry impact. Some of the key takeaways for HVAC professionals seeking to expand their digital presence. And how to build a 4-piece sheet metal transition fitting. Okay. I understand what that means. Some of y'all think that's gibberish. I know it's not. It's actually something. Going from one size duct to another and how to do it, how to build it, how to figure it. Go through here and learn some things, and like these are recent, pretty good views. So he's got a pretty good following. People learn from it. He is very thorough. Looks like this is the new training book that came out 6 months ago. I was seeing some of it on a video I was watching. But guys, this is something we talk about a lot. Getting out, showing off what you do on social media. And, Dad's not here, but he started it, guys. He wasn't doing it to become what he is today. That's for sure. He started just to promote his business, to help get the phone ringing. And that's why he says, if you are a business, you should have a presence on YouTube. And guys, AC Service Tech LLC, AC Service Tech channel. They're trying to teach things to their customers, and that's how Dad got started. And it started to increase the phone at the business by showing simple things that a customer can fix herself. If you want to DIY it, go for it. Like major one. And he used to tell me all the time that plumbers would get mad at him. Some of the businesses in the area, oh man, you're teaching people how to fix their flapper. Don't put that video out. I want to make that easy money on that quick 10-second fix, hooking their chain back up. No, they need to fix that themselves, and you know better. So I love whenever people are going out there on YouTube, showing people how to fix their problems. If you really want to do good on YouTube and you are in the trades, hopefully watching this, you are, show off some things you do. Know a problem that they have and teach them how to fix it. Be their solution. That's the major thing that I use YouTube for, is to learn how to do something better or get better at something, or typically just do something very specific. So if you're in the trades, get out there, put some socials on there. If you want to start a business, even if you don't, and you're just a worker, promote yourself on socials and get it out there, because it can open up a lot of doors. And that's what I've learned from Dad about networking, things like that. I've got a couple little questions here. Quickest fix for minor drywall damage. Patch, skim coat, sand it lightly, and repaint swiftly. Another question. Galvanized pipes, are they still safe for potable water? Guys, generally they're unsafe. Recommended replacement with PEX or copper. We don't use galvanized anymore. The only thing that I used galvanized for anymore, I think it was safety eye washes. This is the safety shower that required galvanized or something on a project. I'm trying to even think of which project that was. And now thinking about it, it kind of blows my mind. But yeah, you don't want to use galvanized anymore. There's better ways nowadays. There's new materials and things. Let's stick with them. Safest method to test a breaker. You Sparkies out there. Use a voltage tester. Ensure the breaker's off. And verify it twice. Okay, that's the major there, is you want to double check it before you zap yourself. Question: building an effective safety culture without micromanaging the crew. And I've actually been approached by a safety man about this, because here, let's give you the answer real quick and then we'll get into that. Encourage team involvement through regular safety meetings, proactive risk assessments, reward positive behaviors, and maintain open dialogue to reinforce mutual accountability. And so what it was, so whenever we teamed up, we acquired electrical into our umbrella. One of the electrical safety guys, we were all on the same site, and he's just like, how do I get my guys to do what you do? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you follow all the safety rules. I said, honestly, it's so that you don't come and bother me during my work day. He's like, wait, what? I said, I came up in the time of safety, so we were learning safety. You got to do it. You got to do it. Well, the key thing I learned is, look, you just got to do all that so that the safety guy doesn't come over. Oh, hold on now. You got to do this. You got to do all this, because all that ever did was pissed me off. I'm in the middle of trying to do something, and you want to come stop me from doing my job? Well, it's because of this safety rule. Oh, okay. Let me just abide by all the safety rules so that you'll leave me alone and you won't piss me off anymore the rest of my career. And it worked, guys. Never had a safety guy jack with me unless it was to benefit me, give me a gift card for doing different things, for going and doing what I was paid to do already anyway. But I just embraced it and said, you know what? Screw it. We got to make this list of everything that we got to do to be safe all day. Let's just do it. And that worked out really well. But everybody, it is Thirsty Thursday. Getting a little thirsty, so I'm probably going to get out of here. Thank you for showing up. I definitely appreciate it. I would like to thank Leak Pro for sponsoring today's episode of the Trade Talks. They let me come in here and hang out for an hour, Monday through Fridays, and had a good time. Roger will be back tomorrow. Thirsty Thursday. Hope to see you back here tomorrow, guys. Thank you, Leak Pro, for sponsoring today's episode of the Trade Talks, where they build the most precise leak detection system for professional plumbers. If you want to check out the equipment, I always suggest the complete kit at www.leak-pro.com. If you're not familiar with leak detection and you want to add this to your plumbing business, you're a plumber that wants to create a side business, give me a call. I do an in-person training. I'll walk you through the whole thing. So give me a call at 1-8888-LEAK-PRO. I'd be happy to discuss the equipment or the training with you. Guys, have a great day. Get out there, hit it effing hard. See you back here tomorrow. Bye.